Hey everybody! In today's interview, we interviewed Collapse of Color, a metal band from the UK. It was a really fun interview and we had a lot of fun talking to them, so enjoy. We are going to jump into a clip of their music first before the interview.
It won't be long before I'm gone. It won't be long. This disconnects between my heart and my head. Conflicts I will never win. And this is nothing new. I've come to terms with my pain. Life lived, drinking. But what is hope if not an empty promise of safety? It's only myself I betray, waiting for what may never be. There might not be a day when I can say that I'm okay. So until death takes me, I'll be carrying this weight.
All right, so you boys ready to just jump into the interview proper?
Can I check that you can hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right, sweet. I was sat here like, what's going on?
All right, guys, so we'll kick this off by having each of you introduce yourself and tell us what you do in the band.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Jack. I am the guitarist and I do the normal clean singing.
I'll go with that next. I'm Evan, and I am vocals, the screaming kind of vocals.
And I'm Tom, I play drums.
Nice.
He hits things.
Yeah. I'm the monkey in the back.
So how did the band Collapse of Color come to be?
Wasn't Collapse of Colour initially inception between you and, Tom and Dan?
Yeah, me and Dan used to play together a few years back. Just had a few practices, basically. It didn't really go anywhere. But I think that's where the name came about that time, but I don't honestly remember, if I'm honest. I think
It
Dan
was definitely the name was there when I joined the band. I was the last member to join.
I just know there was a version of Collapse of Colour where it was Tom and Dan and a couple of other like friends, and it never really went anywhere. That's what I heard anyway. And then
yeah, basically.
And we formed this band after me and Dan broke up with Eyes Open. Dan asked me to form a band with him, and he just picked the name With Eyes Open, and then obviously contacted you, Tom, and then we got Jack. We recruited Jack, didn't we?
Yeah, wasn't it online or something? I don't know. I didn't really get involved in that. I don't think, did I?
Yeah, just for clarification, Dan is our current bass player.
Yes, he's not here right now.
He's not here right now. But yeah, I responded to an advert on a forum, on an online forum. There wasn't much detail, to be honest. I think I didn't even know what genre of metal it was at the time. I don't think there was a genre decided, was there?
No, there wasn't. We were just kind of demoing some stuff with the previous guitarist. He wasn't. He was there for like a demo, and that was it.
I just sent over a few like recordings I'd done on my phone of random riffs, just bits and shits that I'd recorded over the years. And they thought, yeah, this'll do. So invited me around to work on some of the demos they had.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
That's when we started Drowning Sharks.
Yeah, we started the first EP kind of within a few sit-downs, really, didn't we?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that leads.
And how long?
Oh, sorry, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, how long ago was that?
I think I joined end of 2017, actually. Like November, December.
I think that's when we started talking, wasn't it? When did we first get in the practice room, though? It was a while, wasn't it?
For a while, yeah. Because it took a while to write songs to start with. Maybe a year almost.
I was going to say 6 months, but it might be
6 months to a year, yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't used to doing it that way because you guys did it all online, where you were sending me tracks and stuff was all going backwards and forwards online before I'd even met each other. Really, I'd seen Ev because he used to work in a bar in Middlesbrough, which I used to go to quite a bit. So I'd met you, hadn't I? But yeah, it's a while.
Yeah. So that kind of leads us perfectly into our next question about your writing process. We know you guys have a full EP out and a brand new single, somewhat recent single. So why don't you tell us how you guys work together to create music?
Yeah, generally I will write the song So I will come up with I'll map the song out on guitar. Sometimes I write vocals at the same time. It just depends if anything kind of comes to me as I'm doing it. But then I'll go to Evans, we'll record my guitar demo, and just kind of build the song from there. Tom does all his own drums. I can't even, my brain just doesn't think rhythmically like that. It's just all melody. Like, I just can't do it. And I'll send Dan, I'll have to tablature for guitar. I'll have to write that out in pencil and photo it and send it to Dan, so he learns my guitar parts on bass. Then from that, he writes his own bass parts. And at the moment, Ev just screams the lyrics that I write, but I do want to let Evan do some for the next releases.
As do I.
Yeah. We'll find some songs that you want to do, and I'll let you do them.
Down.
Yeah, so you guys said a second ago that when you got started, you weren't really sure what genre or what type of metal you were going to do. So do you think there's a genre that you fit into, or are you guys just making music generally?
I think the closest thing to say would be metalcore. We definitely have, just straight off the bat, you've got the heavy screaming mixed with the kind of clean, very clean, quite, high pitched singing. So that straight away says metalcore. But I don't think we're like most modern metalcore bands. Because I think, Architects came along and just all the bands kind of started copying them a bit. But I think we're maybe a little more old school than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why don't we kind of get into what influences each of you guys creating your own singing, drumming, guitar playing?
Oof, I imagine we'll have a lot of very different influences.
Yeah, I guess my kind of background is more the more hardcore side, I guess. Like, I don't know. Favorite bands, I guess, easiest thing to say, isn't it? Listen to Chariot. Used to listen to the Chariot a lot. That was one of my favorite bands. Obviously, gutted when they parted ways. Likes of Every Time I Die, that sort of thing, I guess.
My stuff was more, when I was younger, I was more into the My Chemical Romance, all the emo stuff.
Yeah.
And then as I grew older, I got more into the heavier stuff. Like, I got introduced to Slipknot, and then further on, Cannibal Corpse, Corpse Grinder, all sorts of like really extreme bands. And then I didn't really like the metalcore stuff. I mean, it was there, like Bring Me the Horizon and stuff. But I found myself over time gradually going more into the hardcore direction. Started off with metalcore, going into more hardcore, like Jesus Peace.
Mm-hmm.
And but most of all, I'd probably say it's the first heavy metal band I got into, which is Slipknot. Corey Taylor, hands down, favorite vocalist.
Music to my ears. Big Corey Taylor fan here. Besides that new album, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Heard about that.
I've only heard the singles, and I can't tolerate it. It's not for me. It's not.
Same here. I didn't even give it a listen yet. Besides
the
the
first
single.
one with the rapping I enjoyed. The second one was just like a generic rock song.
It's dad rock.
Taylor, I love him.
Chris, I'm pretty sure you used that word when we were talking about it. You're like, it's dad rock.
Yeah, no, it is. Corey Taylor, he's reached a point in his career where he can do whatever he wants, and that's cool. But that last record was not for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Jack, you're in.
Yeah. I think when I was starting out to play guitar, the bands that kind of got me into that were the more early 2000s metalcore bands. So Trivium, As I Lay Dying, All That Remains, Chimera, Shadows Fall, the new wave of American heavy metal, I think they called it, which I do still listen to all of that stuff now. But I think more so now, I listen to a lot more, still heavy, but softer stuff, a lot of melodic hardcore. Bands like Casey, Being as an Ocean, Two More, that kind of stuff. So you've got the heavy metalcore guitars that I've kind of started with and grown up with, but then mixed with more emotional kind of ambient stuff in a way. I think that's my kind of like musical journey.
Yeah, you introduced me to Casey. I'd not listened to them before you mentioned them.
So good.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the music that you guys have released, and specifically any development that might have occurred over the last few years. Because I hope you're not offended if I say that the production on Hopeless is really clean compared to some of the stuff on that first
Yeah.
EP.
Oh yeah.
And so
Oh yeah.
and so I I want to ask you guys about how you've grown as a band and what you're doing differently now as opposed to a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'd say back then we were doing everything by ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We
Drowning
were just
Sharks,
testing
the EP, we basically recorded, I think, the entirety of it in Evan's attic bedroom back at the time.
Yeah.
We recorded a real live amp. Evan and his mate built like a wooden box to go around it, an isolation booth for it.
Didn't
So,
exactly
yeah,
pan out great, did it?
It
We were
didn't,
just. It
no.
was my first time recording a live
Yeah.
amp, rather than using a digital interface or anything like that. DI.
I think we were over ambitious and bit off a bit more than we could chew. But we got so far where we were like, right, do we just persevere and release it so we have music out there, or do we need to scrap it and start again? And I think we just kind of, at that point, we'd been a band for a while, we hadn't released anything, and we just wanted something out there and hoped, yeah, it sounds like it was recorded on a toaster, but like people might like the songs at least. And then Hopeless, obviously we did it properly and got, professional producer. We cheated and recorded DI guitars so the producer could do what he wanted with it. Yeah, we cheated the second time.
Well, yeah. One thing I wanted to say was the first EP. There were so many elements that I was like, this could be a really unique sound if it just kind of was produced a little better. And then on Hopeless, I was very impressed because all of these like great things that you had going for you on the EP really came together on Hopeless.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
it was
man.
like, oh, this is hitting hard.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to ask about is, especially the music video for Hopeless is great. And one thing that I just personally don't know about is what goes into making a music video like that, a professionally shot. Are you guys really like in the kind of helping direct it? You want this shot, or are you hiring someone who's telling you this is what you're going to do here?
Yeah, I was going to say we didn't know either.
No,
Yeah.
we came up with a concept and a brief, and then on the day it kind of became a case of like discussing with the videographer, JWA Productions, kind of this is what we want to happen, and then he made it happen.
Yeah, big shouts to him.
JWA Creations, Joey.
Yeah. Creations, sorry, yeah, JWA Creations. But we came up with the idea and the narrative and everything like that.
We just needed somebody to execute it.
Yeah. So on the other end of the spectrum, I want to ask you guys about your experience performing live. Because I saw a clip of you guys doing, I guess it's 666 is the name of the song. And it was a pretty wild, like hardcore style performance from what I could tell. And so I just want to ask you what your experience performing live is and what the music scene is like where you're at.
Yeah, so I don't know, music scene in Middlesbrough now is not like when I was in college. It was great. I'd be at gigs all the time. There'd be decent sized bands that'd come and play in Middlesbrough all the time. But it's just not like that at all anymore, is it now? I think probably
I remember like
they'd have been up Newcastle, haven't they?
Yeah.
Really?
So even between 5 and 10 years ago, you used to have a few good one-day festivals in Middlesbrough, and they'd get like legit bands that I'd actually want to go and see. But now there's nothing.
Blackout, Funeral for a Friend.
Yeah.
Make a Scene Festival. I went to one. It was great.
Yeah. We haven't. It's where we say we're from Middlesbrough because that's where we practice, but we've not actually played a single show there. We've usually had to go up to Newcastle, and even Newcastle, it's not that. In the UK, I'd say for the metal scene, you want Manchester, obviously like London, Leeds, and Brighton, really. Like Bristol. The kind of the south just has most of it really, the north is a bit cut off.
But our live performance, like that, specifically that 666 show, which was at the finals to the Metal to the Masses Newcastle, like it was Battle of the Bands competition. We reached the finals, and it was a chance to play. The winner would play Bloodstock Festival, and we made it to the final. And the show was good to start with, and then we played 666 at the end of our set, and we were the last band on. I think everybody was just like, right, this is our last fucking chance, just fucking go. And I was doing my usual thing, running around, headbanging, even getting the crowd. And that's what I do it for. I love those, interacting with the audience. That's what I'm about. And putting on a show.
Yeah, Evan is a really good showman, like a really good frontman. He definitely pumps up the energy. Me and Dan, we're both much more kind of self-conscious, like anxious people. So when we perform, like we're kind of a bit more within ourselves. Like, you know, we'll headbang and we'll move about as much as we can. But Ev just really lets loose, and it's great because it just gets the crowd whipped up.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why don't you guys tell me about shoot, I'm drawing a blank here. Your approach. What I want to ask about is, how does the UK feel about metal, or maybe specifically where you're at in the UK? Like, do people? Is it something you tell people you meet, I'm in a metal band, or do they think that's like weird?
Is there any stigma attached to it?
Yeah, I mean, in Middlesbrough, there's a couple of alternative kind of nights, isn't there? Like nightclubs that are on, well, were on every week. Yeah. So
not anymore.
You know, it's not out of the ordinary for people to listen to that sort of thing around.
It's definitely still a fringe genre. But the weird thing is, you've got bands, UK bands particularly, heavy UK bands, that will get on the radio all the time. So Bring Me the Horizon, Architects, even like Don Broco, so slightly less heavy. You have a lot of actual heavy bands coming through into the mainstream, but it still seems to be the case of, you know, if you're wearing your Slipknot tee or whatever, you will get negative comments, like you did back in high school. It just doesn't seem to lose that stigma. But then you've got Miley Cyrus doing a Metallica covers album, and it's like, so actually the mainstream is getting more into metal. It just doesn't filter down to us, our level.
Right. Yeah, we always ask bands this question, and I'm beginning to realize that the fact that we're a couple of guys who live in the Bible Belt, that question reflects much more upon us than it does upon any of the bands we talk to.
It does still seem, though, that still most places there is some stigma to a degree. Now, we experience more here in the South, but there's something about it. There's stigma almost everywhere with metal.
Yeah,
I think it's just, you still get that classic, it's just noise. Because, you know,
can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah. And like, I've listened to metalcore since I was like 9, and sometimes, no, you don't know what they're saying. But like, then you listen to you read the lyrics and you realize that what they're saying is actually quite profound a lot of the time. And it just wouldn't make sense a lot of the time if it was kind of, you know, if it was rapped or if it was sung. It has to be screamed because it
a lot of the time. A lot of the time with heavy music like that, the vocals aren't particularly like. They're still the lead vocals, aren't they? But they're not the lead of the song. Like it's
no, they fall into the instruments.
Yeah, it's not. People don't go around singing the. You know, they don't go around singing it, do they? It's the
I do.
Well, yeah, you do.
I'm in the shower screaming my heart out.
Feel sorry for your neighbours then.
I do find myself singing and screaming like Thy Art lyrics to myself sometimes.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So what is your approach to lyric writing? You know, because you just mentioned that with a lot of metal bands, there is a certain degree of profundity in the lyrics. And so I'm just interested, when you sit down with pen and paper or, you know, with a with a keyboard, are you interested in writing something that is profound, or are you more interested in writing something that's just strictly how you feel at that moment?
I'm definitely the second of those two things. If I'm being honest, I don't actually put that much thought into it. It's not that I'll just put anything down on pen and paper. It's just kind of, it's usually just where my train of thought goes. I'll kind of have a general concept that I'll want to explore for the song. And I'll just kind of, I almost approach it as if I was like an author writing a novel or a story. I'm kind of thinking about. It's hard to describe actually, because I don't, as I say, I don't think about it. I just kind of do it. I'd never sit down and think, yeah, I'm going to write a set of lyrics that everyone's going to think are so deep. It's just kind of what comes to me, what comes out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So have you guys dived too deep into online marketing? Because obviously this entire year you guys are releasing new music. You can't promote yourself live. Have you guys kind of put your foot into that world, and what have you learned?
I've been running the social media over the past year, mostly anyway. I have been delving. I've been paying for like Facebook ads, Instagram ads. We went to release the music video. We decided we'd go with, like, if we released it on our own YouTube channel, it probably wouldn't even hit a couple of 100 views. So we decided to go with another place to premiere, and we went with Beheading the Traitor, and great channel, go subscribe. And now I think the video is on like 6,000 views or something, and
For a band of our size, like, we're quite happy with
exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to double check that now, actually.
That's actually really smart. That's obviously bigger than yours to release your music on.
Another top tip, Google AdWords. So we paid Heading the Traitor to do them. And whilst they were active, the views just like skyrocketed. As soon as they ended, it leveled off.
Yeah.
So that's a tip for kind of anyone that wants their music to reach a wider audience.
We're currently on 6,114 views.
Heck yeah.
149 likes and 16 dislikes.
Yeah.
Good ratio.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. Well, the last 14 views came from the two of us, so you're welcome.
That's true.
The other like 6,000 were just us. So.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, Connor, did you have another question on this topic?
No, I think we're ready to go on to the next question.
Okay, cool. So I do want to ask you guys just generally about what you're listening to right now, because one of the things we like to do is talk to bands about what they're listening to, because that informs us about what might influence them in the future. So what do you think is some of the best stuff out in the zeitgeist right now?
The latest Spirit Box single.
Oh yeah.
Whoa! New single?
Fucking beautiful. It's fucking.
Oh,
beautiful.
have you not heard Constance, Connor?
No, I haven't, dude.
Oh my god, man, get on that.
Holy Roller has been on repeat in the last like 2 months.
Well,
I didn't even.
that as well.
Yeah.
Damn! Right when we end this, I'm listening to it.
I ain't even going to talk about Constance because I don't want to spoil it for you.
No, just go listen after this. It's so good.
Yeah.
When you asked your question, I had to chuckle a bit, to be honest, because one of the things that I've been listening to most this year is actually the new Taylor Swift albums. I'd heard Folklore was so good, I had to check it out, and it's just like, it's really good, heartfelt acoustic pop music, and it's just really well written songs. It's not like the old stuff, and honestly, like she dropped another one on surprise on Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Folklore only came out a few months ago, and then she was just like, oh, by the way, I've got another one coming, like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack, you'll have to tell us, like, were you in the top 0.5%, on your Spotify replay or whatever that got released recently?
I don't use Spotify, but if I did, I probably would, I would be.
Yeah.
I'll try and regain some metal credit.
Yeah.
But I think one of my other favourite albums this year is Passenger by Kingdom of Giants.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's checked that out.
I've not heard that.
It's, I told you to listen to it. It's not too different from a lot of metalcore bands, a bit like Silent Planet, Invent Animate, that kind of stuff. There's a real synth element to it. So you've got some kind of 80s Blade Runner vibes mixed in with it. It's just banger after banger, that one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it too much for all the folks who haven't heard it, but I agree with you. Yeah, the new Kingdom of Giants is fantastic.
I'd not heard of them, and then this album came out. They seemed to get a lot of traction, so I thought I'd check it out, and it's well worth it.
Yeah.
For me, I think I'd probably say new stuff. Probably new Deftones album this year. Great. Was the Loathe album this year as well?
Loathe was this year. What an album that is. That was right at the beginning of the year, that one.
Yeah, I remember that. It's a good album.
Yeah, but what else? I don't know.
There's actually been
I
loads of
look at
good
an album.
releases.
I always look at an album and think, oh yeah, this is new, and then I look at when it was released, and I'm just late to the party. So new stuff.
I think
Let's go with that question.
there's been loads of really good albums this year. I think whether bands have brought them forwards just so they've got something to kind of get some money in, I don't know. But Cannibal by Bury Tomorrow, that was really good. Another UK metalcore band. Amity Affliction's album was I think that was this year, wasn't it?
That is hands down. That was this year.
Yeah.
In fact, no, I think it was back end of last year.
I don't know if this year's just like melded into one time.
I don't know.
Current,
If it is
that was this
that's
year.
my favorite album.
Current's album was good.
Yeah.
Pink Elephant by Stand Atlantic, if anyone likes pop punk. That was good. That was really good.
Have you guys listened to the new Alpha Wolf album?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance yet, no.
I haven't yet.
Yeah. For whatever reason, a couple of the bands we've talked to they more or less worship that new Alpha Wolf record. And we do too. So
Following kind of metalcore bands and stuff on Twitter, I've seen a lot of love for it, and I did enjoy it. But for me, it was kind of wasn't that memorable. Like it's really heavy for the majority of it, and there's loads of good riffs and stuff. But I just kind of thought it was lacking hooks a little bit for me personally.
Yeah.
Or maybe it just needs more listens to kind of get the juices out of it.
Yeah.
Chris, what's an album that hasn't been mentioned yet that you really love from this year?
Well, we already talked about the Loathe record, which is by far my favorite record of the year. I'm trying to remember what was this year and what's not.
I'm getting my phone out. I'm having a look.
Time is
you didn't mention Bring Me the Horizon's new album as well as Code Orange.
Sick.
Oh,
Bring Me is so good.
Yeah, that was very unexpected. I liked that a lot more than I thought I would.
Same here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, songs come to mind like Everything Spirit Box is released. The new the new Brand of Sacrifice has the heaviest breakdown I think I've ever heard. And that was just a few days ago. But I don't know. I mean, for all the albums I've listened to, I'm having a hard time putting my finger on it, Connor.
The Ghost Inside had an album.
Oh
that's
yeah.
right.
That was
There's
good.
so many damn albums from this year.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. What about you, Connor? Why don't you say something that hasn't been said?
Okay.
Architect.
Well, they dropped some singles, haven't they?
The singles, not the album.
Yeah, that was last year.
That's going to be exciting next year. It's set for early next year, right?
Yes.
February, I think.
February,
Yeah.
Oh,
ask you
Touche
guys.
Moore's album.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great album.
What do you guys think about the new Architects singles? You know, since they're like the kings of metalcore and they're doing something a little different.
I personally love it.
Yeah.
Like I understand the complaints of that maybe the following in Bring Me the Horizon's footsteps a little bit, but I think they've altered it just enough where they're like an even heavier version of that Bring Me the Horizon's pop sound that I personally enjoy. I enjoy the hooks. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's completely different, but I've always been one for bands trying completely new things. A lot of people, I understand you love the previous style, but just see what happens. It might turn out great. If it doesn't, then let them resort back to their old sound, like Suicide Silence. I personally love that self-titled Suicide Silence album with Doris with the I love it. People hate it. They went back to that sound. Now people liking them again. So let people do what they want to do. That's my thing.
Yeah, that's why we disagree on Architects, isn't it? Because I don't think I've really listened to Architects since Hollow Crown, I think, was the last album that I was a big fan of. And Jack always shakes his head every
It
time.
just makes no sense.
Well, I mean,
Nightmares, man. They're the three albums you want in Architects.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that brings up a good point, which is that, you know, Architects changing their sound is not exactly unprecedented. I mean, yeah, I mean, even if you go back to the Here and the Now, I mean, that's a post-hardcore record. It's nothing.
That's the album that got me into Architect.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because of the age I am, but for me that was like a modern Alexis on Fire.
Yeah.
And I was all about it. I had no clue about their back catalogue or anything. Do I think it's their best album? No, absolutely not. But it is still a solid post-hardcore metalcore album. Then if you look at kind of Lost Forever, Lost Together, going through to All Our Gods, and then on to Holy Hell, those 3 albums do definitely follow the same blueprint. So I think they were due a change. Do I like the 2 new singles as much? No, probably not. Is it because they're less heavy? No, not at all. I think it's just what I've mentioned with Animals, particularly. That song sounds like it could be on Sempiternal. And for me, and I think Finn McKenty from the Punk Rock MBA said it as well, Architects should be setting the standard. They should be what other bands are copying. They shouldn't be kind of copying other sounds from 10 years ago. Like, I think for me, Animals particularly, it's a mixture of Royal Blood and Bring Me the Horizon 10 years ago. It's quite clear what they're trying to do, and it's going to work. I think they're going to get massive from it, and they're going to headline festivals. But, all copied them. I think they're one of the best in the game, and just the nicest people as well, it seems like. But I am looking forward to the album, even if it sounds like I'm not. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the end result of this will be a Bring Me the Horizon Architects tour in 2025.
Oh my God.
There needs to be some new festival headliners. Like, I don't know what your festival scene is. You've got loads of kind of more choice than we do, I imagine, but we've got Download. That's more or less it. And it's just the same headliners. You have your Metallicas, Slipknots, Ozzy Osbournes, Iron Maidens, System of a Down. They just all recycle year in, year out. And they need to finally get some new blood into those headlines.
Like what's going to happen once those bands eventually end? Like, we've got no one to replace them. Like we did, like Slipknot were really the last big mainstream metal band to actually become a headliner. But now they're like, what? They formed in 95, 25 years ago. And like, there's not really been anybody that has replaced that level, really.
I think that there is. The bands are there.
Parkway Drive is starting to get there. That's obviously they headlined. Was it Bloodstock they headlined?
Yeah, and Vakken.
Vakken.
Yeah, as well. Yeah,
they're starting to do that. But I still would like, if you go up to an everyday person and say, "Have you heard of Slipknot?" They'd be like, "Oh, that screamy, shouty band. I'm sick of them." Or like Iron Maiden. Oh, we all know Iron Maiden. Everybody knows Metallica. But if you go up to a person and say Parkway Drive or Architects, who doesn't listen to metal, they're not going to know who they are. They might not listen to those other bands, but they know who they are. There hasn't been a band like that in such a long time.
That is a very interesting point you brought up. And me and Chris have talked about this quite a bit, that, it seems like there aren't any like somewhat new metal bands who have broken through and made their name known to most people and become a pop culture figure. I mean, all those bands you name, everybody knows Metallica and Iron Maiden, and most people know Slipknot. But I wonder, is heavy metal overall going down in popularity? Is that why? Or are we about to see Parkway Drive, Architects, these kind of bands make it more into the mainstream? I don't know.
You know, I think it is. In my opinion, I think the metal community ruins it for themselves. So it might be a bit controversial. But you have bands like Bring Me the Horizon who do get massive. They alter their sound. They become more radio friendly. They get on the radio, and metalheads, not obviously overall, but a lot of them disown them and say that's not metal. So metalheads, they want to be mainstream, but at the same time, as soon as anything to do with metal does become mainstream, they're like, no, we can't have this. They gatekeep it.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent there. But with the popularity of metal, I personally say metal as a whole, not just like you've got this band, like this one band, like it was Pantera in the 90s who were mainstream. You don't have that one band anymore, but there's so many more metal bands nowadays. Everybody listens to at least one metal band. Even like people who don't listen to metal, I guarantee somebody will listen to Metallica who doesn't listen to metal. And
don't Topshop sell Metallica tees now?
Oh, and yeah, and H&M and stuff, like
That's
I wouldn't
also
really
an
say it's,
interesting point.
yeah.
Yeah. So now we're kind of going into this, just a very broad question, but what are your future goals for the band? A new EP? Are you guys working on new music to go along with Hopeless? What are your goals?
It's a bit hard at the moment just because of obviously the
Play some
situation.
shows. That's what I want to do. Play some fucking gigs finally.
I know I want to
Uh,
play shows.
I mean, who knows when that's going to happen. I think at the moment the plan will be another standalone single, and then we'll move into EP2 territory. I think. It's just
It's not confirmed. That's just
that's what
ideas.
that's spitballing. Hopefully,
Yeah.
it's just hard to know what we are and aren't going to be able to do. Really, we obviously
Like,
none of us live together, so we can't write together or anything without breaking the rules, which we don't want to do. Difficult.
I'd say because like we signed with the Empire Music with our booking agency back in February earlier this year, and that was before lockdown and the pandemic started, and we were planning to go on like tours and stuff around the UK, like go further afield, maybe do some small festivals, and obviously all that got put on hold. And we're hoping, because I read something today, I'm not going to say where it was from or if it's even true, because if the internet thing might be bullshit, that something to do with the people who work festivals and stuff have said that we should expect festivals to be back summertime. So hopefully we can start touring then. Who knows? Just got to see what happens. But there will be new music at some point.
Hell yeah.
We have some quality. I don't want to like pat our own backs, but some of the songs that we've got that we haven't released yet, I personally think they're a level above Hopeless even.
Yeah.
And I know all bands and music say that, but
No, but I'd agree, Jack, because the demos you're sending me now are definitely, you can tell the progression in your writing. You can see it instantly, I think.
And the ones that we have been able to practice already and actually try and work on as a full band, they're like I'm excited to get those recorded. I really am.
We have got a fair few songs like.
Yeah.
We need
I've got to start practicing double bass again, haven't I? Double bass.
No, like double bass.
Yeah.
Jazz metal.
Oh man.
So guys, we've hit the point in the interview where this is just a broad open discussion period. So if there's anything we haven't touched on that you want to talk about, if there's anything you want to plug, or if there's anything you want to ask us just for fun, shoot.
Put on the spot there.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was expecting this.
We could talk about my Christmas tree if you want.
Yeah.
All right then.
Oh.
That is incredible.
It's pretty fantastic.
Oh, good man. Good man.
I loved it.
Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, I love that you have the Gerard Way looking fellow looking at the tree in Langer on the television screen. It's
Oh, that's The Young Ones. It's an old British sitcom.
I see.
You should look it up if you're not seen it. Rick Mail. Have you heard of him? Drop Dead Fred.
I've not actually. So
Before my time, anyway. You're showing your age there, Tom.
So yeah, obviously all of your links to your music will be in this video, in the interview on YouTube. And yeah, so guys, anything else before we throw this to a close? Any questions?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was really fun, guys. You guys are really fun to talk to you. We are very much looking forward to the rest of the music you're going to release. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. It's been fun. It has been fun.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers. Take care.
Yeah.
We'll see ya.
See ya.